actually, my ex might be the least income making person that I've ever been with. Ever. Everybody included.
You just don't. You're a piece of shit, Papoose. You really are. You have turned into a piece of shit. This shit right here, the gambling, the failures that you've had in your career or whatever that didn't pan out how you wanted to, has turned you.
Remy Ma thought her world was solid. She really believed the people around her loved her unconditionally. But one moment of bad judgment, one emotional mistake, and the foundation she built her whole world on started to crumble. She always carried herself like a queen, like someone who had already survived the worst. But the truth is, heartbreak doesn't care how strong you are. And betrayal doesn't always come from a man. Sometimes it comes from your own confusion, from the version of yourself you're still trying to understand. She thought she had time to fix things, time to explain. But Eazy the Block Captain didn't wait. He walked out, and he made sure the whole world watched him go first. It was just a few people noticing. Someone on Twitter posted that Remy had quietly unfollowed Eazy. Then someone else pointed out that his Instagram had no trace of her anymore. No birthday post. No couple flicks. No tagged pictures. Nothing. It was like she never existed. Fans tried to tell themselves maybe it was just a rebrand, maybe they were laying low. But that's not what this felt like. It felt cold. It felt final. People on the blog started digging, and before long, the whispers got louder. Then came the screenshots. Text messages, supposedly between Remy and another woman, a hairstylist, someone who worked in the NYC underground scene. The text didn't show anything graphic. But the tone? It was intimate. The kind of words you send when you trust someone too much. Late-night meetups. Emotional support. Longing. It painted a picture, and even though neither of them confirmed anything, the internet was already putting the pieces together. In those messages, there were hints of tension. Like something more had happened that went deeper than just friendship. And then came the detail that changed everything. One message where the woman said, "You told me he wouldn't find out." That line hit different. It wasn't just a friendship. There was something hidden, and Eazy found it. People started remembering old videos, old lives where Remy looked distracted, where she didn't talk about Eazy the way she used to. One clip even showed Eazy on live, looking frustrated, and when someone asked about Remy, he just smirked and shook his head. Nobody thought much of it at the time. But now, it all made sense. This wasn't just a breakup. This was a heartbreak wrapped in betrayal, silence, and secrets. Their love story was messy from the beginning. Remy had been married to Papoose for years. They were hip-hop royalty. People called her Mrs. Loyalty. She stood by him through prison, through struggle, through everything. And Papoose did the same. But behind closed doors, something shifted. By the time she started showing up with Eazy, people already sensed something was broken. Eazy was different. He was younger, sharper, and gave her a kind of attention she hadn't shown she needed before. He wasn't trying to be her savior. He wasn't trying to play the husband role. He just made her laugh. He made her feel seen. And for a while that seemed to be enough, but the world didn't take it lightly. Social media lit up with opinions. Some people said Remy downgraded, going from a king like Papoose to a battle rapper still building his name. Others said she was finally living for herself. Eazy stood tall beside her despite the criticism. He never disrespected Papoose, never said anything messy in public. He just let his actions speak. The way he held her hand in photos. The way he showed up at her shows. The way he smiled at her like she was the center of his world. But love that starts messy rarely ends clean. And now it looks like everything they tried to build collapsed because of a secret neither of them were ready to share. And that secret? Her name still hasn't been officially confirmed. But everyone thinks they know who she is. A stylist who traveled with Remy during her short tour last year.
Not famous, not flashy, just someone in the background. But those are the people you let close. Those are the ones who see you when your guard is down. She was always there, backstage, helping with outfits, laughing during rehearsals. Fans went back and pulled up old photos. One in particular started going viral, Remy sitting in a chair, getting her hair done, while the woman stood behind her with her hand on her shoulder. It didn't mean much then. But now, it looks different. There was a softness in that photo. Something unspoken. It didn't stop there. A few days later, someone dug up an old IG story. The two of them dancing at a private party after a show. It was playful fun, two women just vibing. But knowing what we know now, it's hard not to see it through a new lens. And the internet? They don't wait. They labeled the woman Remy's mystery love. And as the drama exploded, that woman said nothing.
No denial.
No defense. Just silence. And sometimes, silence is the loudest response of all. Before things fell apart, before the internet started whispering and the screenshots began circulating, there was a time when Remy and Eazy looked unbreakable, at least from the outside. People were still adjusting to the idea of Remy being with someone new. It wasn't just any breakup she came from, it was a shift from a long marriage that many thought was unshakable. Remy and Papoose had been together for years. They had a bond people respected. She was the face of loyalty. He was the husband who waited, who protected, who always stood by her. Their relationship was bigger than love, it was a symbol. So when she began being seen with Eazy, it wasn't just gossip, it was a shock to the entire culture. People didn't know how to process it. Some felt betrayed, others felt curious. But everyone was watching Nati first. Remy and Eazy didn't speak on it. They let people assume whatever they wanted. But their body language started telling the story. They started showing up together more often, in clubs, backstage at events, even walking into interviews together. Remy's smile was different around him. Softer, lighter. And Eazy? He looked like a man who knew he had something precious. He didn't move like he was clout chasing. He moved like he was protecting her peace. Still, the questions never stopped. People asked if she left Papoose for him. People asked if it was real or just a distraction. But no matter what was said, they stayed close. Their energy made it clear, whatever this was, it mattered to them. Behind closed doors, though, things were more complicated than fans ever realized. Sources close to the couple say Remy was struggling. She had love for Eazy, but she was still carrying old pieces of her past. The kind of emotional wounds you can't always explain, even to someone who loves you. Eazy tried to be patient, but he's not Papoose. He wasn't built to swallow his pain and keep quiet. He wanted transparency. He wanted consistency. And over time, he started to notice things that didn't sit right. Missed calls. Late replies. Stories that didn't quite add up. And even though he never said it publicly, those closest to him say Eazy had his suspicions long before anything leaked. One of the things that made this relationship so powerful was also the thing that made it fragile, their chemistry. It was raw. It was passionate. But some passion burns tout haut. They fought, they made up, they fought again. The kind of love that leaves you breathless, but also broken. Remy wasn't used to being questioned. She wasn't used to explaining herself. And Eazy wasn't used to being second. So even though they were smiling in photos, laughing at parties, and putting on a united front, something was always bubbling beneath the surface. And all it took was one mistake, one emotional misstep, to send everything crashing down. People close to Eazy say he loved her deeply. Not for the fame. Not for the clout. But because he saw something in her that he felt the world forgot, her softness. Her humanity. The part of her that had been through hell and still woke up fighting. But love isn't always enough, especially when trust gets shaken. And for Remy, who had already lost so much in the past, this relationship felt like a second chance. That's why what happened hurt even more. Because she didn't just lose a man, she lost someone who reminded her of who she could still be. And through all of this, Papoose never said a word. At least not publicly. But his silence? It carried weight. Some said he stepped back out of respect. Others said he was quietly watching it all unfold. Either way, his name hovered over everything. Every time Remy was seen with Eazy, someone would bring up Papoose. Every post, every video, every live, the comments would fill with people saying, "She did Pap dirty," or "Pap would never." And no matter how much she tried to live in the present, the past kept pulling her back. It became a triangle of emotions. One man from her history, one man from her future, and a woman in the shadows who no one expected. This wasn't just another breakup in hip-hop. This was a public unraveling of something fans never thought they'd see. Remy, the strong one, the loyal one, caught in a storm of heartbreak she might have caused herself. And even though she tried to hold it together, even though she smiled through interviews and kept posting as if nothing happened, you could see the sadness in her eyes. The regret. The realization that she might have risked everything for a connection she didn't even understand completely. And as the public kept guessing, judging, and dissecting every move, Remy was left with a story that didn't have a happy ending, at least not yet.